start. Okay, start. So let me download this so we can write in it better. Okay, let's finish loading. So what this whole live class is going to be is that I'm going to actually be doing the same thing in the video, but with you guys, so that you guys can stop me at any time and say, hey, I don't get this, or can you say a different example kind of thing. And I just need like one person to keep reminding people, hey, she's recording for the rest of the class. And then I need one person that if people don't want to talk out loud, if you could be the one letting me know, hey, somebody has a question, or you could type in your question and I need somebody to say it out loud, because I can't see the screen. I can't see who's asking a question and who's not. So
Hello.
Somebody can do that. So we're just waiting for this to load so I can put it as a PDF and then I can write on it.
What's up, Miss Jimenez?
Hey. Okay, so I saw some people already putting on the on the link, like doing the work and saying that, hey, domain, this thing is pretty hard. Can you kind of go over it again? So this is what we're going to try to do. So weekly unit, we're on unit 2, we're on week 5. Okay. All right. So today it's discrete and continuous verbal description. All right. So the first thing you got to remember is that functions can be discrete or continuous, and that means in any kind of function. Okay, quadratic, exponential, linear. This semester, all we're talking about is linear. Okay, so all right, so a ver, why is it not letting me write? Why are you not letting me write? What did we do last time? God, I don't remember what we did last time on this thing. How do we write on here? There you go, discrete. All right, so discrete functions are when you can only be limited to using certain numbers. You want to think like whole numbers. Because we're talking about word problems, you really don't deal with negatives. Okay, the only time you can deal with a negative number is if you're talking about the y. Okay, and to figure out if problems are discrete or continuous, you're only looking at what the x value is. Okay, can the x be negative? In word problems, there's no way, because that means that you're either returning something, you're putting something back, you're going back in time, and stuff like that can't happen in real life. Okay, the going back in time can't yet. All right, all the points are plotted on a grid. All right, so that's just the coordinate plane, and the dots are not connected. So when you see the picture, because sometimes, you know, the questions might tell you the problem and then they give you the picture. So if you see a picture that is just nothing but dots, then you know that that's discrete. I can't connect it. Okay, I can't figure out what the answer is going to be if I had a fraction of something. Okay, it only can be whole numbers. The domain and the range for discrete functions are listed. That means like what we were talking about last week. Last week we said that you can only put them in order from least to greatest. And that was from the tables and mapping diagrams. So let me give an example of that, because I don't know if y'all remember that. So if I gave you 1, 2, 3, 5, 5, negative 6. All right. And I told you I want you to tell me what the domain and the range is. Ya estoy. Hey, para de jugar, que ya estoy grabando. Cierra la puerta, madre. Sorry, guys, my kids are with me right now at school. Oh. All right, domain.
My kids are missing right now at school.
Yeah, she's not funny. She thinks she's funny. She's not funny.
Yes, she's not funny.
Domain you put in order from least to greatest. So all the x's first is always going to be the first number. So it's 1. Actually, y'all can't see this color. Change it to white. So it'd be 1, 3, and 5. That would be the domain. The second number in the ordered pair is going to be the range. So that would be in order from least to greatest. The -6 comes first. Then it's 2, and then it's 5. Here. Okay. All right. Go watch it with your sister.
You give it to me when
Okay. Yeah. Why don't you go watch something in mommy's big computer? Okay. Oh my gosh. All right. Hold on, Mama. Hold on. All right. Okay. So that's discrete. All you're doing is listing the numbers in order, and that's it. Okay. From least to greatest. All right. Everybody seemed to get the question on the mapping diagram good, so I don't want to go over that. The one that messed some people up was the set of ordered pairs. All you're doing is just giving me the x value, and that's your domain, and the y value is your range. Now, for verbal descriptions, real situations, okay, are graphed in the first quadrant. And the reason why is because we can't use negative numbers, okay? Sometimes they'll be in quadrant 4 if you're talking about like diving in underwater. So if you go underwater, that can be negative, but that's only the y value. But most likely, all of them are going to be in the first quadrant. And they only look like dots. And notice that the dots that I did, they kind of make a line. That's why we call these linear, okay? So if they make all like a squiggle or a curve, they're not linear right now, okay? They have to be just dots in order for you to be linear. All right. Any questions about discrete? Like, do I need to go into further? Do I need to try to give you an example? Is everybody okay with discrete? Like, just to know that what it means to be discrete. If I don't hear anybody say anything, we're gonna have to keep going. Oh, get your Chromebook out of the thing. No, what I'm recording, Ma. And it is not good for you to be talking to me while I'm trying to record, okay? I understand. Hey, why don't you go to Miss Blackwell and ask her if you can stay in there with her? Yeah? What about Miss Jenna? About Miss Williams? Ask her if you can stay with her. Mommy's recording. All right, functions are continuous. When you have no limitations, that means you can use any number that you want. You can use a fraction, you can use a decimal, you can use all the negatives, all the ordered pair, all the odds, all the evens. Negatives, not really. We talked about it. Real life problems, you can't use negatives. The graphs have no breaks. That means that when I graph them, they just look like lines. Okay? Either straight, going up, going across, going down, but there's no break in between. The domain for continuous functions can be written as inequalities. Now, this is what I saw a lot on that test when I was grading it. All right. So let's say I had a closed circle here and an open circle over here. Let's say this was -3, 4 up here, this one was 5, and this one was -2. All right, some of y'all didn't understand how do you write that? Or I guess you didn't understand the question I was asking. I was asking what was the inequality symbols that you would use. And I tried to explain that in this video too that I recorded last time, right? When you go straight down, that's gonna be your domain. The reason why it's going straight down is because you're trying to figure out what the x values are. And the only way that I can find out the x values is if I cross the x-axis. Okay, if I were to go horizontally, I'm not crossing the x-axis at all. I can't figure out what that x value is. I have to draw vertical lines. So we always go from left to right. So we're crossing at -3.
Mommy, can you show me the way to Miss Williams' room?
You gotta ask her if you can be in there.
Well, I don't know where she's in the I can go with her. She said we're
All right.
driving.
Oh, she gave you money.
Who?
Miss Williams.
I thought she was going to
All right. Can I please continue teaching my kids?
I thought she was
Can I please continue teaching?
Mommy.
Oh my gosh.
Mommy.
We're gonna do less than or equal to because you're trying to tell them that the numbers are between these two. You're always gonna use less than. Sometimes you can use less than and equal to, and sometimes you can use less than.
I'll go without me. I'll keep it just.
We do X. Now on that last one, because it's an open circle, we just do less than, and we put 5. All right?
Don't close
When it's a closed circle, you put a line underneath it. When it's not a closed circle, you leave it alone. Now to do the range, you go across. Now again, I know that you're thinking, hey, but the y-axis goes up and down. We have to go across because we're trying to find the y value. The only way that you can cross the y value from that dot is to go
Come on, let's go.
to the left or go to the right at the bottom. Right? All right. So we do that. And again, we're going from the least to greatest. So that means you're going from the bottom, which would be -2. You have an open circle, so that would be less than. We're going to say y, and you're going to 4, and that's the closed circle, so less than or equal to 4. Okay? All right. On the test, it was only supposed to be less than because there was only open circles. There was no closed circles on that test. Okay? All of them were open circles. Okay? Now, the only time it would be like greater than would be if I had a graph that only had one dot. So let me erase this. And I know it doesn't have to do a lot with what we're going over today because today is about word problems, but I just want to capture any misunderstandings you guys had or that I saw on that test, just to make sure that it was a quiz, just to make sure you understand. So if I draw an X here, and here's my graph, and I'm going to go down. Okay. I only have one dot. Okay. Now, because I only have one dot, that means I'm only going to have one inequality symbol, not two. Anytime I have an arrow, I'm only going to have one inequality symbol. So I draw from the dot going across to figure out what that y value would be. Okay. You see how the line is touching the highest point on that graph. Let's just say this was 3. Okay. That's my range. So it'd be y. And then I look at the graph. Is the graph going underneath the blue line that I drew, or is above the blue line that I drew? So since it's below, we do less than or equal to 3. Now to get the x, we go from the dot and we go down. Let's say this is -1. Again, we only have one dot, so we do x, we do -1. So from this blue line that I drew going down to figure out what the x would be, I have to figure out where is that graph at. Is the graph on the left of my blue line, the -1, or is it on the right of the -1? In this case, it's on the right, so it would be greater than or equal to. Okay? So that's the only instance where you're only going to use one inequality, and sometimes it'll either be greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, okay? But if I have 2 dots, I'm going to have less than both times. Okay. Now, I have a question on here on the notes, and I'm asking how to tell the difference. How do you know if your graph or your word problem is going to be discrete or continuous? What you want to do is you always want to ask yourself about the domain. If I can only have whole numbers or only a set of numbers, then I want to be discrete. That's what it's going to be. Because discrete, I can only use certain numbers. And I know maybe you're asking yourself, well, how am I going to know what kind of numbers you are going to use? Well, you have to read the problem to figure out what is the x, what's the independent variable, and then ask yourself questions about, can I have a fraction of this? Can I have any positive number, right? If you can use any positive number, then you would be continuous, okay? Any number can be used. That would be continuous. All right, so we kind of went into what's discrete and what's continuous. Try to make sure I went over the graphs from last week because I felt like, hey, maybe that was a little bit that needed to be discussed because I saw some of y'all not doing so well on that test on those questions. So now let's dive into the actual problem. Let's figure out, hey, if they give me this, am I going to be able to tell you, is this discrete or continuous? So, amount of cookies. So when they're packaging cookies at an actual factory, they count how many cookies are in the box or whatever it's called, right? The machine counts, oh, this is how many cookies is going to go here. Because you read the box or the thing and it says, 32 cookies or whatever it is, okay? But it's telling you. We're not asking you, oh, if you pull it out, it's half a cookie because it's broke. No, they have to put a whole full cookie in there. So because a whole entire cookie has to be in there, you're going to call this discrete. I can't have half a cookie in the bag, right? When they count, they're counting that the cookie, this is the exact amount of cookies. I don't care that it broke, it still counts as a cookie, okay? The height of a giraffe as it goes, as it grows, right? So you're growing by what? Every single second, your body is growing. Either your bones are growing, your hair is growing, something's growing, okay? At any single interval, you can figure out how much you grew. So because I can find out at every single interval is going to be continuous. So discrete is when you can only do whole numbers of something, and continuous is when you can do any kind of decimal that you want, right? Any number. Okay. Next problem says number of students in each class. Okay. You can only have a whole entire body of a student. There's no way for me to have half a student. There's no way for me to have a fourth of a student. You're in my class, you're a whole student. That's how many kids I have. I don't have a fraction of somebody or nothing. It's one or nothing, okay? So that's why it's discrete, because that's the number of kids I'm going to have in each class. Okay. The distance traveled over a period of time. Okay. Because this question is not telling me, oh, this is how much I'm driving between 5 to 8 hours. If they were telling me 5 to 8 hours, then that would be discrete because you're telling me specifically what hours you want to use, okay? But I'm not telling you that. I'm not giving you any indication of how much time I'm going to be on the road for or how long I'm going to be traveling for. So because I'm not giving you any idea about that, you're going to be continuous. The amount of kittens in a litter. Again, you can't have a fraction of a kitten. A kitten. It was born, it's a kitten. Okay. Yeah, it could, you guys can get technical and be like, well, miss, what if it's missing an arm or missing a leg, or paw, whatever, or an ear? It's still a kitten. It's still a human person. It's still a living thing. Not a human person. Y'all know what I meant. A living person. So it would be discrete. The weight of gallons of water. The gallons is your X, okay? Because the weight depends on how many gallons you have. Now, I can weigh half of a gallon. I can weigh a fourth of a gallon. Can weigh a cup. Any ounce that I want. Any fraction that I want. So this is continuous. They're not telling me they're in that sentence that, hey, you can only use this certain numbers. Okay. So that's just the basic point where here's the sentence. Here's what I got to think. A lot of it is just figuring out and asking yourself the type of questions that we're going to talk about in the next 2 problems, okay? I do talk a little fast, so if I need to slow down, like I said, I need one person in this meet to be like, hey, Miss J, can you slow down a bit?
You're going too fast, Miss Jimenez.
Am I really?
Huh?
Am I really?
Yeah, you're going too fast.
Well, because we only have an hour, so I'm trying to like make sure we get everything in an hour. All right. So far, I need everybody to add, like, you know, somebody to either check the chat or whatever and ask me, well, let me know, is everybody okay with just being able to say if it's discrete or continuous? Does anybody have any questions about how to tell if it's discrete or continuous? Okay.
No.
Thank you. All right, so here we go. Different word problems now. Tammy's monthly cell phone bill has a base fee of $5. She is charged $2 cents for every text message that she sends. I know that for you guys, this doesn't even make sense because you guys have unlimited text messaging, unlimited data. But hey, when I was in high school, this actually happened. Okay? They would give you a certain number of text messages. If you went over, they charged your parents for every text that you went over. Okay? So anytime you see the word every, per, or each, the word after it is going to be your X. And that tells you your domain. Remember, the domain is the most important thing when it comes to word problems to figuring out if it's going to be discrete or continuous. So a text message is your X. So you have to ask yourself, is it possible for Sammy to send negative text? No. That would be me being able to unsend it, and there's no way to unsend it. You can't really undo something. You can undo an email, but you can't undo a text message yet. I don't think you can, but so what does that mean? That I can't have any negative numbers, right? Is it possible for Sammy to send 0 text messages? Yeah. Okay. This person can probably didn't feel like talking that month, so didn't text anybody. She just got in trouble and got her phone taken away or something. So yeah, it's possible. It is possible. So it can be 0. Okay. Is it possible for Sammy to send fractions of a text message? I mean, it depends on how you think of it. Like if you think, oh, she just texted hey and she meant to text like a full sentence, you can say as yourself, hey, that's half of a text message, but your phone company or the cell phone company is going to say, no, you sent something, that's a full message. They're going to charge you for a full thing. So we have to say no, because we're not thinking of ourselves like in English, is it going to be a fraction of a text message? Because it probably would be if you didn't text everything you wanted. But in the company sense, you sent any little letter or whatever, it's going to get charged as a whole entire thing. So we would put here no. So because I got a no for the fractions, and this is the most important one, I got a no for a fraction, so this is going to be discrete. To me, it would be like, makes more sense to ask yourself, can you do a fraction of something? Because for most word problems, we're not going to be able to do negatives. Okay. The most important one would be to ask yourself, can I do a fraction of this X? Okay. All right, this word problem, John's new vehicle can travel 28 miles for every gallon. So again, the key word is to look for each, every, or per. We got every. So we're talking about X being gallons of gas. All right. So is it possible for him to have negative gallons of gas? No. You can't have negative gallons of gas. You can only go to E. Remember, when you look at a, what's it called? Gas tank gauge, it has F for full, E for empty. Doesn't say anything for that one. It says 1/2 here, and then it has a line over here. If the gauge is broken, yes, it could go past the E, but it's gonna be at the E. And if you're out of gas, your car's not gonna be able to work. So you can't have negatives. Is it possible to have 0? Yeah, that's the empty part. Is it possible to have fraction gallons of gas? Yes. Because it has one line here, so that's 1/4, that's a half, and this is 3/4. So yeah, it's possible. Just by remembering how the gas gauge of a car looks like, it's possible to have all these fractions. So this would be no. I'm sorry, why did I say no? I don't know why I said no. It would be yes. All right, so this is the part where you're supposed to try to figure out what these questions are. Okay. If nobody wants to talk, I don't know how we're going to do this part. So the first one says the total cost of Y of X cans of soda. So you guys have to ask yourself, can you buy a fraction of a soda? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, so then discrete is out. I mean, sorry, continuous is out. Hi, why can I not write on this? So because I can't have a fraction, continuous is out. So this would be yes. The number of dogs in the dog training course. So the number of dogs in the dog training course. Okay. A training course, can you have half of a course or a full course?
Full course?
Full course. They're not gonna have half of it either. You pay for the whole course, and if you just don't go, then you just lost your money, right?
Yeah.
So then continuous is out because you can't have a half. So it'd be discrete. Total cost of Y of buying X pounds. So your pounds is your X. Can you have a fraction of a pound? Can you pay for half a pound?
Yes.
So it's continuous. So if you say no when you talk about fractions, then the answer will be discrete. If you tell yourself, yes, I can do the fraction, the answer will be continuous. So total distance driven over X days. So can you figure out how much you drove in half a day?
Yes.
Continuous. Temperature over a period of time, so time. So can you figure out the temperature in the desert in 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Can you figure it out in half an hour?
Yes.
So then would it be discrete or continuous?
Continuous.
There you go. Number of stamps needed to mail X packages. So you have X packages. Can you mail half of a package?
I don't know.
So then it would be
Discrete.
there you go. Okay. So that's Mondays. That's today's. But since I only see you, I can only meet with you guys on Mondays and Wednesdays. I want to go ahead and go into what Tuesdays. So this is half of Monday. The second half of Monday is the domain and the range. So what you have to ask yourself first is it going to be discrete or continuous? If it's continuous, then you use the inequality symbols. If it's discrete, then you're going to have to find out in the problem, hey, they told me that I can only use certain numbers. Okay. So Luis charges a traveling fee of $10 plus $25 per month to mow his neighbor's lawns. If most of his neighbors only get their lawns mowed for 5 to 8 months out of the year, what is the range of the situation? So they already gave you the X's. They gave you 5 to 8 months. The way you can know that's the X is because of the word per. The word per, remember the word after per, each or every is your X. Now, because they told you 5 to 8 months, do you think this is going to be discrete or continuous? Anybody? What do y'all think? Discrete or continuous? Because they told you specifically you can only do from 5 to 8 months.
Discrete?
Yes. Anytime they tell you you can only use certain numbers, it's going to be discrete. So that means he's not charging the person for half a month. He's charging you for the full month, right? So to do the range, all you got to do is figure out how much is he going to charge these people for 5 months, for 6 months, for 7 months, and for 8. To figure that out, you do 10 plus 25 times 5. Because in 5 months, this is how much he's going to pay them. So you use the calculator or you do the math to 125 and then add the 10. So it's going to be 135, comma. That's how much he's starting with. That's how much he's going to get for 5 months. If I want to figure out how much he's going to get for 6 months, all I do is I add 25 because he's charging 25 for another month. So I add 135 and 25, I get 160. Okay, that's for 5 and then 6 months. To get to 7 months, I add another 25 because he's charging another 25. 185. Now to figure out in 8 months, I add another 25. 210. Okay, so far. On this one, the total cost of a cup of yogurt using the formula 2 plus 0.75x, where x represents the number of ounces. If you can spend between $2 and $5, what is the domain of the situation? It said $2 to $5. What is the domain? So on this one, it gave you $2 and $5. So you would think that this is discrete, but versus the other one gave you 5 to 8 months, right? And it's talking about months. It's not talking about if he's gonna charge them in half a month or anything, so you can't really assume that. But you guys have gone to a yogurt shop, right? You've done that. Can they charge you for half an ounce?
Yes, they can.
So then it's continuous. Just because I'm gonna pay between $2 and $5 doesn't mean that I can't be in between those. Like I can't get charged for a half of an ounce or whatever. So I know my range is $2 to $5. So to figure out my domain, I got to figure out, well, how are they going to charge me $2? $2 would be if you didn't get any yogurt. But I mean, that really doesn't make sense because why are you going to go to a yogurt shop and not get any yogurt? But $2 for just getting the cup. Okay. That's my domain. Well, 0, sorry. 0 for not getting any ice cream whatsoever. Now, how do we figure out what the next one would be? Well, basically it goes to 1, 2, 3. Okay. But I would want to know, hey, how far can I keep going and still just do $5? So what you do is you get the $5. They're already charging you $2 for it. So you would subtract the 2. That gives me 3. Then you're going to divide it by how much each ounce weighs. I use the calculator, and this comes out to 4. So they're only going to go all the way to 4, and then you would stop. But I didn't write this right because I did that just to figure out, like, where am I going to stop? Because it's easier doing with whole numbers. But once you know where you started and where you stopped, you got to go back and add the symbols because you said this was continuous. So it's less than or equal to x, less than or equal to y. So when you're trying to find like either domain or range, especially domain, sometimes it's easier just to do the way that it would be done in discrete, like just doing one at a time. But you have to go back and think about, hey, I said continuous, so I have to change the symbols to less than or equal to. It's a tricky way of doing it. Not a tricky way, but it's just a better way of understanding it, like an easier way of than just like trying to figure every number, like every decimal or everything. You at least can know, hey, I start at 0, I keep going, where am I going to stop? Once I figure out where I stop, I can go back, erase the numbers, and put the inequality symbols to make this continuous, because I don't want to overwork myself. Okay, the rest of these are nothing but examples. Now I wanted to pop these 2 in here just to let you know that, hey, when it's an equation, they have to tell you something. So like on letter A, they don't say anything. Because they didn't say anything, this is continuous, and you're going to put all real numbers. That's what that R means for both of them. But on letter C, they're telling you that you can only use the positive even numbers, less than or equal to 12. So this would be discrete. Excuse me, my throat. Right. Are we okay with the equation part? The equation's easy. If they don't tell you anything about what numbers to use, it's all real numbers. But if they tell you, hey, you got to use only these numbers, then it's discrete. The word problems are the ones you got to think about. We're okay with the equations?
Yes.
Okay. Jenny rides her bike 12 miles per hour on a trail in the park. The trail is 18 miles long. The function f can be used to determine the number of hours that he biked after t hours. The number of miles, I'm sorry. All right. So per hour is where my x is. So number of miles biked in t hours. So can you do a fraction of an hour?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be continuous, okay? So we're going to do it just like we did the last problem. We know that you're going to start at 0 because that means he hasn't even left. But where is he going to stop at? So we want to do whole numbers, okay? If he does 1 mile, that's going to be 1 hour is going to be 12. So let's see if he can do 2. 2 times 12 is 24. That means he's not going to go to 2. So now that means I have to find the fraction of it. To find the fraction of it, I just do 18 because that's how long the trail is divided by 12. So this gives me an hour and a half. So I go back and I do the symbols and put an hour and a half to figure out, hey, that's where it's going to stop. Now the range is going to be 0 because if you don't go anywhere, you're at 0. And the trail is only 18 miles long, so you're going to stop at 18. So continuous always has a start and an end. Where is this going to start at? Where is it going to end at? And then all the numbers in between are decimals. All right, letter D, you have the gift card. Okay, it says each song, so that's my X. And you think about downloading the songs or purchasing the songs. Can you purchase half of a song or do you purchase the whole entire song?
You could purchase a whole entire song.
Okay, so then this means this is only discrete because I can't do half of a song. Maybe it downloaded half of a song because it's some error, but you still get charged for the whole song. So we know we're going to start with 0, and we can do 1 because it's only $1.50. 2. And I'm thinking this is going to go to a large number, so I'm going to put some dots. Let's see. If I do 10, that's going to give me 15 songs. So I already know 10 songs is $15. So how can I figure out how many songs I can do? I'm going to do 45 divided by 15. That means 3 times. So I can buy 15 songs 3 times. That means I'm using, how many songs am I going to buy? 10 songs for $15. So if I can buy 10 songs for $15 and I'm doing it 3 times, how many songs am I going to buy altogether?
30.
Yeah. And that's it. I'm going to have to list all of it. And then for the range, you would start at 0. Okay. And then for 1 song, it's going to be $1.50. For 2 songs, it's 3. And then dot, 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 all the way to the 45. Because you would have spent $45 for the 30 cards. All right, this one right here, Mario has the iTunes gift card, same thing. Okay, it's talking about number of songs. But this one's only asking for the domain. So I'm talking only about the songs. So I can only do whole numbers. So I start with 0. I do 1. And I know it's going to be more than that. So either I can do it the other way like I did on the last problem, or you can just straight divide. 20 divided by 0.99. It's going to give you a decimal. Okay? But you can't use it. You can only use the whole number because you can't buy a fraction of a song. So calculator, 20 divided by 99 cents, it gave me 20.2. 0.2 would be if I downloaded like a fraction of a song, but I can't do that. So that means 20 is my answer. Anytime you're talking about discrete, you don't round. You just take the whole number and that's it. You leave the fraction. The fraction is just something that got left over. You're not going to sell all of it, or you're not going to use all of it. It's going to be left over. You only use the whole number in the front. There's no rounding. You can't round at all. So then dot, dot, dot to 20. That would be my domain. Example 2 says that you're selling pizzas. And it's 45 cents per toppings for the total number of toppings. Now this says x minus 3. Anytime you have something in parentheses with the x, that means they're like giving you something for free. So according to this, because they're subtracting 3 from the toppings, that means they're giving you 3 toppings free. They're not going to charge you for a topping until you do 4. Okay. So instead of being the x starting at 0 is going to start at 4, because I don't get charged until this inside the parentheses is a positive number. I can't even use a negative number because I can't. They're not going to take money off just because you didn't want to use all 3 toppings. Okay? So anytime there's the parentheses in there, you know it's going to be discrete, and you have to tell yourself what numbers they're going to start at. It has to start at a number that's going to make that parentheses positive. And the next number after that, 3, is 4. So we're going to start at 4. And we figure out, all right, well, how much money am I going to have to figure this out? Did he say how much he can spend? He doesn't want to spend more than $10. So for 4 toppings, I'm barely going to do something. Let's figure that out. 45 cents times 1, because we said we're subtracting it from the 3, plus the 8.50. That's $8.95. So we're going to do $8.95. Hold on. Sorry. Okay, so we keep going until the next number until we find, hey, when is it going to reach 10? Okay, or when is it going to be less than 10? Okay. So that's how you do your domain. Example number 3. It's measuring the height in inches of her roses over time. She discovers that the formula y equals 5 plus 25x, where x represents the number of days. So they said between 4 and 8 days. What's the range going to be? All you're going to do is plug in these 2 numbers into this equation and figure out what the range would be. I'm kind of running short on time. I only got 45 minutes left, and I want to go into Tuesday. Are we okay with discrete and continuous and domain and range? Can we go to Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And this day you're writing linear equations from word problems. So anytime you hear the word context, they're saying that's word problems. And because we're in Algebra 1, this is going to be x and y, or they're going to use f of x for y. The words you want to look for to know that, hey, that's the number that's going to be attached to my x is going to be each, per, or every. Because those words represent multiplication. A constant is usually going to be where what the equation is equal to, or where the problem started at. So you've done these before. I hope you have. I don't know. I can't say you have, kind of, because last year 8th grade was kind of weird with the whole pandemic thing. So we just need to make sure we can go. Now we look for those keywords. So we skim it, and I see the word each. So I circle the underline that. I see the word each over here. So because I have 2 rates, that means that I'm going to have x and y on the same side anytime I have 2 rates. And then it said you want to sell 2,600. So we know that that's what's going to equal. To figure out, are we going to add or subtract? We go back into the word problem and figure out, hey, did they say addition or something? They're saying combination, so that means plus. You choose what variable you want to be with. I want the A to be the adults, so I put 8 in front of the X. I want the Y to be the children, so then I just put 5. That's it. We're not solving anything on this day. This day is only can you give me the right equation that goes with the problem. Okay. So problem number 2, we're looking for each or every, or per, and I have per right here. So that's the one that's going to be with the X or the Y. Why continue reading? I don't have another per or each. So that means because I only have one, the 6 is going to go with that X, and that's it, right? It says write the linear equation in slope-intercept form. I don't care about this problem because I don't want to answer anything. All I'm doing this day is just writing the equation. Okay? So 6x. It already contains 35 gallons of water, and she begins to fill it. The already is going to tell me that, hey, the 35 is going to go on the same side as the x. So we're going to put y equals. Because I already know where that constant number, that number that doesn't have a rate on it, is going to go on the same side of the x. But I need to figure out, is this going to be plus or minus? I go back and it says that she's filling this up. Right? So because she's filling it, that means that I'm going to be getting more and more gallons of water in the fish tank. So that's addition. If anything in that word problem would have been saying that she was like cleaning the tank, then you would have said decreasing because she's taking the tank water out. But this is that she's beginning to fill it. All right, a caterer charges $2.75 for 15 people and $4.25 for 25. You want to find the cost of y is linear and the number of x. You were supposed to go into slope last year. Not sure how much you did it, right? But slope is y over x. So we talked about the money first. 425 minus 275 over 25 minus 15. I always do the larger numbers, and they have to be right on top of each other because they go together, because they're together in the sentence, and that means they go together. Well, this comes out to be 10 at the bottom, and what is it? That's 2, carry the 1, that's 3, 150. Okay, so the rate is 15. So I know my equation is going to be y equals 15x. But I need to figure out, hey, what is my initial value? What are they charging the people just to get there? So to figure that out, I do 15 times 15 because I know 15 people are going. That's 225. I subtract it by how much they're actually charging people. This tells me they're charging them 50 cents for just booking the gig. So I put plus 50 because they're increasing that amount. All right, you're running a concession stand. You sell hot dogs for 75 cents. So that's 1 per. And a soda for $1.50 for that's another per. And you want to make $2.50 that day. So because I have two numbers that are talking about multiplication, I'm going to have the x and the y on the same side. I'm going to choose one x to have the 75 and the other one to have the 150 or the 1.5. Now it said how much you made all day. So when you're talking about pulling all the money together and figuring out, counting out what you have all together, you're using addition and you make it equal to 50. Okay. So notice that the pattern is we're looking for the numbers that are going to identify the rate. What is going to be multiplied by a letter? You have the same thing over here. You have a plumber that charges $35 an hour plus he charges a service fee. But they didn't tell us the service fee. They did tell us an hour. 35 an hour means you're multiplying. That's what an hour means. So I know I'm going to have y equals 35x. But I don't know what the service fee is. So to figure that out, I'm going to use this 160 for 3 hours. So I do 35 times 3 because he's charging them every hour 35. That's 105. I subtracted from that 160 to figure out how much his fee is. 55, and he's adding it to how much he's charging per hour. A youth group is planning a canoe trip. Okay. Number 6, we do exactly like how we did the other problem with word problems. I don't want to get boggled down too much because we only got 10 minutes. Can we skip some of these word problems and go down to the bottom, or y'all want to do these? What do y'all say?
Just skip them, miss.
Skip them? Okay.
Yeah, just skip them.
All right, so we're right here. So this one says started. So we know that's my starting amount. This says the word every day. She squashed 10 more, so 10 is my rate. So y equals 10x plus 310. And it says which one is my starting point. So we already know it's 310. So we can cross out these that don't have it. Okay. So we have B, C, or D. But how do I know which position it's supposed to be? Well, we know x has to go with the 10. And so that means that the 310 is the y. So we would cross out B. But you're starting something. A starting number can't start at 1. Okay, it starts at 0 because you're at the origin. So my answer is this one. All right, farmer. I don't know. These names are so crazy. I'm just not even gonna talk their names. I don't even know what the things are that they're talking about. I'm just knowing that the word started is. Okay? And I know the word every day. And I know what erase means. Erase means you're taking away. So negative 3x. The started means plus because that's where they were at. Y equals. Farmer added 3 O's every hour. 3 started with 42. What's the equation? 3x plus 42. Okay. So not only do you have to figure out for that each, every, and per, you got to read the question again and make sure it's going to be a positive or a negative. The one added and the last one said erase. So erase means take away. So it'd be negative. This one says started without any. So that means you started with 0. Every month you added 9. So is that a positive or a negative 9? What is it, guys? Positive or negative?
Positive.
So 9x. And that's it. Oy. All right. He started with 21. Notice I'm not reading the whole thing. I'm just like reading the question, the words that I'm looking for, like things that are telling me where they started with and things that are telling me the rate. So the everyday tells you the rate. The added tells you if it's going to be positive or negative. So added means it's going to be what? Positive or negative?
Positive.
So 3x. And then started with 21. So plus 21. And that's it. And we just barely made it. Okay. How do y'all feel? It's 2 lessons in one time frame because the same thing that's going to happen on Wednesday will be going over Wednesday and Thursdays. So are we okay?
I'm okay with
All right. Okay. So remember, you get 4 chances to do all your check ones every single time. All right. Okay. So if y'all don't, I'm going to close this to see if anybody has anything they've been asking about. Let me save this. That one. Close this. Go up here. All right. Okay. Anything? All right. Thank you guys so much for coming, and I hope this really helped you guys. And Christopher, I'm so happy to see you there. All right. Okay. All right. I'll see y'all on Wednesday if y'all need anything. Okay. Just remember that you can email me or text me. All right. You guys have a good day. Bye.